Hola guys, and welcome back to Agrarian Skies. Alright, so first things first, I want to show you guys a couple of changes that I've made while you guys have been gone. I've expanded my barrels here, as you can see, and I've actually done something here that allows me to not have to do a whole lot of work. As you can see, I've got quite a few materials now. I've actually got a considerable amount of iron, and that's not even counting the rest of the stacks there that I still have to process. As well, I do have all of my lava here, and I do got a few extra machines, but the piece de resistance is my little sweatshop here. It's currently off just because I was having some issues with lava generation and power, so I will have to upgrade that in a few minutes. I'm actually planning on doing that before the end of this video here. But just to explain what's going on, I actually have behind this anyways, I'll just go out here. Back here we have an igneous extruder to couple together with our autonomous activators in our crucible. But what you don't really see is that it does go off down the side. Let me just fill that in real quick. There we go. Alright, so that actually does come over here, and you can actually see it if I back up a little bit. It does come over here to the left, and it comes up next to our good friend, the pulverizers. Now, what the pulverizer allows us to do is it turns the cobblestone into gravel, and in order to get this system running, I did have to use two, so it overproduces gravel by considerable amount. So it turns the cobble into gravel with a byproduct of sand. Now, as you can see here, we do have conduits that are backstuffed with gravel, which is exactly the way we want it. And it's going to output the cobble from both of those pulverizers and input it into our autonomous activator that then activates on the sieve. Now I've got this over here. This one's empty. It's just there to help speed things up. And then from there, whatever's left over, or rather once this is filled 100%, goes down and down the line over to our next pulverizer, which turns the gravel into sand with a chance for dust. Oh, I did not mean to do that. Oh well. Now you can see it a little bit in action. As you can see, it processes that, and then over here, it's going to steal those every so often. So this one's running, and this one's running now. So it keeps up fairly well. And as well, we have our sand there, and this one works the same way. I probably will end up adding a second pulverizer here as well, just to help with the sand production. But it works basically the same way that the gravel does. It sends the sand in here, and any leftover sand comes down here and gets turned into dust. Now, one thing I do want to make note of is the fact that when you turn cobble into gravel, there is a byproduct of sand. I believe it's about 10% chance it'll show up in the yellow slot here. So I do actually have a conduit going, or not a conduit, an item duct going underneath this and underneath that over here to our sand, as you can see. Now, why do I want to do that? Well, if you were to, instead of running into the second one, run into the first one, because this is full, it would never completely fill it. And that's more than a little bit problematic. If your pulverizer maxes out this slot with sand, it will stop functioning, which will basically clog up the entire system. It'll jam. So by sending it over here, you don't ever have to worry about it overflowing. It does fill up. I've had about a stack and a half in here before, and it does eventually get rid of it all. It's just a little bit of a slow process. And as well, the same thing with sand. Gravel to sand, you have the possibility of getting dust, and the same thing is duplicated over here as well. Now, what you can't see on the other side here is basically just a bunch of piping. We do have hardened energy conduits. I made those off camera. Those are, the conduits, rather hardened energy conduits, are typically one piece of leadstone energy conduit, one piece of redstone, and either 1 Invar ingot or 3 Invar nuggets, depends on whether you're making 3 or 1 at a time. And the leadstone are fairly cheap, except for the redstone content. 6 pieces of redstone, 2 lead, a piece of glass, and that gets you 6 of these leadstone energy conduits. Now these only carry about 80 RF per tick, which isn't bad if you're only running a couple of machines at a time, but considering I'm running about, what, 4 there right now, plus I've got these 2 machines and these 3, so I've got the 4 in there plus 5 out here. I've got like 9 machines running at it. Well, at most, I've got 9 machines running at one time. I'm never ever actually running them all, but you do have to take that into account. All right, now the hardened energy conduit, as you can see, can take up to 400 RF per tick, which is considerably more and considerably better. Now, my power input production right now is only about 180. I do need to upgrade this to get about 400 and something. I'll probably try and get it up just past 400 so that I know I don't have to worry about power anymore, or at least for now. But one other thing, now that I've showed you guys my little sweatshop there, the little, all that hard-working machinery there that I can just leave and let farm, as you can see, I've got like 8 or 9 stacks of some things and 2 or 3 of some other rarer ones right here. But the other thing that I've done a little bit of off camera, I've actually completed a few quests just in the process of going ahead and upgrading my systems there. So as you can see, we're about 95% complete the original, and we're about to be completed in about just a couple of minutes. So let's take a look. And I believe the last one you guys saw was probably the pastoral life. I believe cultivating the harvest. I believe you saw expanding the farms. Believe you did see it's automatic and powered processing, but we'll go over those real quick. These just require the aqueous accumulator, the autonomous activator, and the vacuum hopper. I'm not going to go over the recipes because I do believe I've showed those. The powered processing simply requires the pulverizer. It gives you a hammer. The hammer, by the way, in case I didn't know that on camera, actually comes with Fortune 3, so that's nice, although it doesn't actually affect your drops from things like cobble or gravel. It does. It is unenchantable, which is what I believe the intended purpose of it was. There's quite a few things in this mod pack that are given to you that are enchanted, and like I have a fish with like Fire Aspect 5. It's not really useful, but you know, you can disenchant it and put it on other things. So let's go over the quests that you guys haven't seen. We've got We Must Go Deeper Once, which requires an auto brewer. An auto brewer is a little bit expensive, honestly. Alright, so the auto brewer is 2 pieces of plastic, rather 2 plastic sheets, 3 redstone reception coils, 2 redstone repeaters, 1 machine frame, and the brewing stand. And this is the part that really screws up this quest. You need a blaze rod. Now, unfortunately, there is no way of getting a blaze rod through production outside of bees, and that's not exactly an early game bee. So you do actually have to go to the nether for this. And yes, the nether does exist. It's not voided. It's a little bit annoying, but it is there. So you do have to go there, find yourself a blaze, or find yourself a fortress with a blaze farm. It's not really a big deal, but it is fairly dangerous, so be warned, get yourself some armor, and try and be safe. Once you've done that, you go ahead and you make yourself an auto brewer. You get some potions of regeneration and healing and half a heart, plus reward bags. The next is Never Again, which requires you to craft an angry doll and a creepy doll, and then you get yourself a blaze rod. How ironic. Now the dolls, really quickly here, doll, not plural. Precious doll is just made with porcelain clay and glass, like so, and you can eat, or not glass, diamond or an emerald. Porcelain clay is just normal clay with bone meal. And then the Angry Doll is made with 4 blaze powder, 2 glowstone, and redstone. Now, redstone and glowstone you can get from sieving dust, so I would stick with that if you're looking for that. Same with blaze powder, you can get that from there as well. The nether wart, if you don't find any when you go to the nether for your blaze rod in the last quest, you can actually get that by sieving soul sand, which is made with witch water and sand, and witch water is just made with mycelium and a barrel of water on top of the mycelium. The creepy doll requires 4 ink sacs, which requires squids. As you guys have probably noticed, I get a lot of squids down there, so I took the time to kind of figure out a way to get them. I basically just swam down there and waited till they spawned. It took a while, but at any rate, you just need yourself 4 ink sacs and 2 lapis, and then another wart and redstone, so that's not too difficult. You do actually get a creepy doll. Sorry. You do actually get a creepy doll in an earlier quest, however, it doesn't count because you do actually have to craft it. So don't expect to get out of that one early just because you already have one. It doesn't recognize it unless you actually physically craft it yourself. The next quest we're going to take a look at is the moving power. Moving power requires a red net energy cable, a leadstone energy conduit, which I've explained, hardened energy conduit, which I've also explained, and the redstone energy conduit, which is the best conduit you can get, but is also one of the most expensive. So let's take a look at the red net first. Alright, so we've got the red net here, which is from Mine Factory Reloaded. Now the red net energy cable requires 6 of these if you want to make 6, or 4 just one. It's 1 red net cable, 2 redstone, and 3 electrum nuggets, or 2 electrum ingots and a block of redstone and a crap ton of red net cable. Red net cable is just 6 plastic sheets and 3 redstone combined, so it's not too bad overall. The next thing I'm going to show you guys, this one is a little bit more complicated. Like I said, this one can hold up to 10,000 RF per tick. It is considerably better than, say, the hardened, but it is definitely more expensive to try and make. So this requires, and this is a really bad example, I don't know why it gives you this. Sorry about that. You do have to make yourself a redstone energy conduit empty. And it does require 200 millibuckets of destabilized redstone, which I'll explain in a moment, in order to fill one of these up. So, to make 6 of these, you need 2 electrum ingots and hardened glass. Electrum, as you should already know, is just made from silver and gold. I just make mine in here, just throw 1 gold, 1 silver, gives you 2 electrum ingots. I just make them over there. It's fairly quick and painless. The other thing that you need typically is, or not typically, the other thing you will need is a hardened glass. Now you do have to make this, as far as I can tell, inside of the induction smelter. You can't make this inside of the smeltery, unfortunately. Now that's just either 1 pulverized lead or 1 lead ingot, as well as 8 pulverized iron, or you can also use like an obsidian ingot. It's not pulverized iron, it's a pulverized obsidian. I'm sorry, I'm tired. But you can also use, I believe you can use just raw obsidian, and if you can't use raw obsidian, you should be able to use the obsidian ingots. I believe those work. If they don't, then you may have to switch to pulverized, but it doesn't take much effort to do so. Your induction smelter just works like so. So the last step, like I said before, I don't know why I keep opening that, is just to fill it with redstone. Fill this with redstone, which you simply do by taking a magma crucible, throwing some redstone in, it will melt it down. It can hold about 10 buckets worth of any liquid, and then it transfers it over to your fluid transposer, which you then stick the conduit in there, and it will automatically fill it up. You submit, and you do lose one of them. So, if you're planning on using them, be aware you'll only have 5 left after you finish making them, if you even bother making 5. The last quest here, I've already completed this one because this is just a lot of power and a lot of time. It's a resonant flux capacitor. Now you can actually use this to charge certain items, such as flux infused tools like the sickle or things like that. That's basically what this is for. Now, because I don't have any, I'm not overly worried about this, but I just want to go over some information here for you. As you can see, it's got a full charge. It can send at about 2500 RF per tick, and it can receive at 10,000 using our energetic infuser. This is a machine you do have to use in order to fill this up. I'm not placing it down because it takes about 400,000 RF to fill, and I don't feel like putting it back down. But at any rate, you just throw this in the left-hand side, and you're good to go. Now, this is made like so. You need pyrotheum dust, enderium ingot, and a redstone flux capacitor. So I'm going to start from the very beginning of this recipe and work my way out so you can see the different steps you have to go through. So the first of which requires 1 copper, 2 lead, 1 sulfur, which you can get from the nether either with sulfur clouds or from sulfur ore, and 3 redstone. This one requires 2 invar ingots, 1 tin, the previous capacitor, and 3 redstone. And that gives you the hardened. The next one, this gives you the redstone flux, which is 3 redstone, a diamond, and 2 electrum. And finally, we have the resonant flux capacitor, and this is definitely the most expensive. A pyrotheum dust is made with sulfur, pulverized coal, which is just literally coal put in the pulverizer, as well as redstone and blaze powder, gives you 2, which I believe is all you actually need. and then Enderium ingot. Now this is a little bit more complex, but considering you already had to make the pyrotheum dust, you should have no problems. It requires 1 pyrotheum dust and 2 Enderium blend in an induction smelter for 2 ingots, so you've got the perfect amount of pyrotheum dust already. Enderium blend is just a resonant ender bucket with 3 pulverized tin and shiny metal. And resonant ender is just an ender pearl in a magma crucible, so that's not overly difficult to do. So let's go ahead and hand in our final quest, Feel My Power. I'm going to manually submit that, and we will take the bag in the middle. Alright, so we've got flight 4, 8 minutes, 8 minutes. The Ender Thermic Pump, and a Redstone Energy Cell, which is 10 million power, I believe that is. Yes, 10 million. So we're set. Now, I've already got all my power set up here, so as you can see, it's not that much of an issue for me to have that extra power. However, I will most likely upgrade and use the 10 million one once I've set everything up here. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and put some of this stuff away, and then we're going to take a look and see what we get from this bag. Actually, I got a basic bag, so it's probably not going to be very good. I got a little bit of a crap drop there, to be honest. But anyways, I will be back, and then we'll take a look at what we're going to do for the next set of quests. Alright guys, welcome back. Cleaned up my inventory a little bit here. I did actually accept the reward, and I got a Silk Touch X, or Silk Touch 10, so I am okay with that reward. I would have preferred something a little bit better, perhaps, you know, Legendary or Epic bag. That would have been awesome. Lord had his, well, basically suggested there may or may not be one there. I know he's done some testing with it, so it's very likely there may be. He could be mistaken, but it does seem like one of the ones where you should get at least a greater bag. So at any rate, that bag wasn't the greatest, but it certainly wasn't bad with that drop. So what are we going to do next, now that we've completed the basic one? Well, we've got 5 other trees that we can start with. Of course, we've got Hell's Kitchen, which allows us to work on getting better food. Certainly not a bad idea, but I don't think food's really a big concern of ours right yet. We also have Go with the Flow, which is just liquids, bees, and trees. And then for the hoarding, as well as your Wizard Steve. Now, your Wizard Steve does look fairly interesting, but I have a feeling it's going to be fairly complex as well. Now, one thing that I would like to do before we get started on that would be getting a little bit better of a storage system. Now, of course, this certainly isn't bad, and it is fully automated. I may not have mentioned that before, and it's a bit difficult to tell because I can't just go out and fly. Darn it. We'll do it with Oakwood. Forgot I turned mag mode off. Alright, there we go. Alright, so as you can see, this is all automated. If I take this out of my hand, every single one of these is set to a stack size 1. The specific item in that barrel with a whitelist and the redstone control set to low, which means it will always pull that item if it can. And it's actually, and I didn't mention this before when I was in there, let me just get away from here so I'm safe. There we go. It's about as safe as I need to be. Down here. Okay. Oh, I didn't mention this before, at least I don't believe I did, but we do have our vacuum hopper up here as well as a gold chest. Now, the vacuum hopper is set to just, well, basically a vacuum hopper will catch any drops in the immediate area. It can catch from all 3 of these. Now, it was going to be a little bit more specific. You could put them directly above and it would catch them immediately. I may upgrade that at some point simply because mag mode tends to interfere with this unless it's directly above. But for right now, this works fairly well. It just immediately... Now, the reason I chose to put the gold chest here instead of just having the item duct, which I believe you can do as well, there's certain things that are in this chest, or rather, that aren't currently connected to my item duct system. Basically, this row, everything from here to the left, except for the appetite, so basically between here and here is all connected. That way, minus the ingots, of course, because I don't have anything making those. Everything else is just put in there by hand and managed by hand. But the main reason that I've got that just there is so that I've got a fairly large buffer and I can kind of leave for a bit. I have to watch my hunger, of course, because that does tend to get low. But as long as you keep an eye on it, it's usually not a bad thing. You can kind of leave and just let it run, and you don't have to worry about it overflowing or getting stuck or anything like that. So now that I've kind of gone back over that, what are we going to do for our next set of quests? Like I started to say before, what I'm thinking is I'm probably going to go with For the Hoarding, but I'm going to be doing something a little bit different from here on out. I'm also going to try and start the Bees and Trees branch as well, simply because bees and trees both take a considerable amount of time to actually work your way through. The biggest component with bees and trees typically is the time required for actually breeding things. Now, I don't know how in-depth this actually gets in terms of breeding bees or anything like that. I do know I'm not very good at it, so I'm gonna take my best try at it and see how far I can get before I just completely get stuck. And at that point, I may or may not be asking Lord for help. He might join us in chat. Actually, what I might do is locally host this through Hamachi with him and get him in here, and then he can go through it with me, and we'll try and make some progress for you guys on that. Just because I know typically I don't do very well with bees. It's more his thing. He's kind of our bee king. I'm more the tree guy, so we'll see how it goes. I'm going to work on that kind of in between working on other things, just because, like I said, it is mostly time-based. But what I'm going to do as well is I'm also going to work on For the Hoarding. Why? This, I believe, only opens up once you've finished this learning the skyblock. I could be mistaken, but I do believe that is the case. Once you finish the learning the skyblock, you unlock the ability to get the automated mining quest. Now that requires a laser drill and the laser drill pre-charger. Now I've read through this, and basically the way this works, basically the two automated mining, like it says here, there's two automated mining options. You've got the laser drill from MFR and the ender quarry from extra utilities. The laser drill has to be pointed at the void and works better if it's at a higher height. Think about that. We're over void. I don't have to dig a giant tunnel or anything like that. We have a giant void to work with. It mines from void, so that is the best option for us. The ender quarry could be used, it could be fairly useful, but that's something that we'd have to look into making later, and I'm not sure how well that would work for us. I might do a bit of research and see which one would be better, but I'm thinking, just because of the quest, I'm thinking this will probably be the way we go. It'll be an additional way of getting ore outside of sieves. We'll see how functional it is, because I do know it does use quite a bit of power. So we might keep this up and running for a bit longer. But anyways, like I said, we're going to do two different things here. I am going to finish this episode off. I'm not going to necessarily start bees in this episode. I will try and start this, and I'll try and maybe do this quest and this quest on camera, or rather, complete them on camera for you. And I'm going to also try and do maybe one, maybe two of these quests just to try and get started here, and we can see what we're going to do. I'm also going to upgrade my lava system before I come back, just because that is something that I've been waiting to do for a long time here. So I will be back in a bit once I've finished upgrading lava and once I've made some headway into completing those next set of quests. Right, guys, just wanted to give you guys a quick update on the updated power system here. This, I believe, was designed by my good friend Code. I'm not sure if he had any inspiration for this or not, but this is something that I learned from him. We have our igneous extruders out at the back with cobble, and they max it with the cobble, and then they using item ducts, they send the cobble over to the crucible. Now, I didn't realize this before. He actually informed me of this, or rather, he showed us how to do this. It turns out crucibles are sided, which means if you put the item ducts on top, they will drop cobble in. However, it doesn't work from the sides. But it does work from the top, and you can use opaque item ducts, normal item ducts, doesn't really matter. You just simply basically do this. Nope, I just got myself stuck. Okay, there we go. So you run them across the top, and they will drop them in as needed. And then by running fluid ducts in between the crucibles, you can actually output the lava. Now you either need to place redstone bricks below, like redstone blocks below them, to toggle them on so that they know to output, or you can use a pneumatic, what's it called? A pneumatic servo to give it the filter and turn it on to automatically output. Now you don't have to set it to output lava. It's just my personal preference to do so to make sure that it's only outputting the correct liquid in the case that for some reason I accidentally put the wrong liquid in somewhere. Then I don't have to worry about it screwing anything up. And now I do also have the tank. This is from the open blocks tank. We'll take a quick look at this. It's just 4 obsidian and a bunch of glass panes, so it's fairly cheap. And then we've got our magmatic dynamos in the front, again connected using fluid ducts, powering our hardened, you can only see them, the hardened conduits below, into the redstone energy cell. Now this is something that is a little bit more expensive. Now you don't actually have to make this. Once you finish, I believe it's once you finish the very last quest in the original branch. Yes, once you finish that, you actually get the redstone energy cell. So that's fairly nice. Right, so with that, that is the updated power system for now. I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit more work on some of those other items. Now, I do just want to take a quick off-roads here before I continue with those other quests. The endothermic pump is actually another reward you get from that last quest, and it can actually be used to pump lava from the nether. Now, of course, you would need a, what are they called? A tesseract, a liquid tesseract, in order to actually get the liquid, or rather get the lava back to the overworld. However, that is another way of getting lava if you don't want to have to set something like this up. The endothermic pump, sorry, it actually does something fairly unique. It acts as a chunk loader on its own, but that's not what's unique about it. You place it just above, like 1 block above the level of the lava. So basically, if the lava was a solid block, you'd be placing it on the lava. And it is then able to suck up any solid blocks of lava below that level in the pool that's being chunk loaded. But what's cool about it is the fact that once it's sucked up a lava block, it replaces it with stone. Now that may not sound like a big deal to some of you, but for those of you with less powerful computers, this can be a very viable way of getting lava from the nether. I'm sure the majority of you are familiar with the problem of trying to pump lava from the nether and it ending up being very, very laggy because of all the falling lava you end up with instead. This is a great alternative to that. It is a little bit expensive, but because of the fact that you just are given one, that's not really a concern of yours. But it is definitely a good alternative to this setup, and in fact, if this for some reason wasn't keeping up, you could actually use that in order to get yourself more than enough lava in the long run. However, I think this is going to be fine. In worst case scenario, I can always add a third little, I suppose it could be called a lava engine. I think I might just call it a lava engine, but you could always add a third lava engine there connected to the tank, and then you'd be good to go. So worst case scenario, I might expand this. I'm not going to bother with running the actual endothermic pump. I just wanted to go over that and explain how that works. Alright guys, welcome back. Like I mentioned before, I've just been working on a few things here, specifically making some tanks. I've already used up most of my other stuff from the other tank, the hardened glass. Looks like I grabbed the wrong one. Threw them in the chest earlier. Yeah, there it is. That's the leftover tank from right here. So, we can actually go ahead and finish off this fluid storage quest. I'll grab the one on the left here. And there we go. So that's certainly not shabby. We got a basic and a good bag. Let's take a quick look and see what we get. Actually, let's throw this stuff in here first. Oh, nice. Decent amount of saplings. Now, the reason that I always suggest, or always say that I'm going to put stuff away before I do, it is possible to. That was an awful reward. It is possible to actually get some rewards that will fill almost your entire inventory. For example, one of the rewards that I've gotten before was this one. I got all the different colors of the forestry stained glass. It's definitely a good idea to clean up your inventory first, just to give yourself a better chance of getting those. If your inventory is full and it tries to give you that, I think what happens is it just picks a different one, and obviously that's not optimal if you're trying to get some of the larger rewards, because there are quite a few that you can get. Like you can get, like, I think 40 stacks of torches is one of them. I don't know how that works, but apparently you can get quite a few torches from one of them, and there's a few other really good ones, or really large ones, I should say. So let's take a look at the next quest here and see what we can get. Fluid management. So it wants us to work on an AE system. So that might not, it's not a bad idea, but we don't exactly have an AE system yet. Alright, well, I'll be back in a minute. Alright guys, welcome back. I just went ahead and completed another quest here, rather got the stuff to complete the first quest in for the hoarding. And like I mentioned earlier in the episode, I would actually like to try and focus on two specific trees. The first of which is the bees and trees. I'm going to try and accomplish that first quest there. This other one that I'm going to work on for now is actually for the hoarding. As you saw before, the Go with the Flow wants to start off with an AE system upgrade, and since we don't have an AE system, we should probably start with that. So we're going to go ahead and claim our reward here. We'll go with the middle bag, because why not? I'm getting really bad drops here. Oh, look at that, more glass. Okay. Let's throw this in here. And we will claim our life. So that's not bad. Now, just in regards to that last quest here, the storage upgrade is actually something that allows you to increase the inventory of something by 64 stacks. So as you can see, for example, let's do it with the iron, I think, because iron's kind of one of the ones that I want more of. At the top, as you can see, it says 618 out of 4,096 and 64 stacks max. If you right-click on this, or shift, I think it's enough upgrade slots for this upgrade. You need at least one to apply this. Apparently it won't let me upgrade that. Let's take a look. Ah, that's why. Alright, I'll be back. I have one of those upstairs. Okay, so like I mentioned, I did have one of these upstairs. This is another part of that quest, the Mark 1, that basically gives you the ability to, well, rather, the way that works is the structural Mark 1 or 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth, give you additional slots to put on specific barrels. So by right-clicking on the barrel, or shift right-clicking, it upgrades the barrel. As you can see, it's a slightly different color now, and it does give us the option to upgrade. So we're gonna stop. We're gonna shift right-click, and now we've got room for 128 sacks, or 8,192 items. So we can now fit 8,000 iron ingots if somehow we manage to run across that many. We've got plenty of room for iron. The main reason I want to do that is just to show how all of that works. So I'm going to go ahead. Let's take a look. So it wants us to make a deep storage unit. I'll look into doing that. I don't think that's usually too bad. But the other thing that I'm going to work on doing, again, while I'm away here, is work on the seed oil can and the artificial hive. So I'll be back, guys. Alright guys, welcome back. This is going to be the last little bit we do here in this last episode. Now we do have ourselves the seed oil and the artificial hive. The artificial hive is just made with a hay bale, which is 9 pieces of wheat, I wanted to say hay, and 1 silk mesh, which is 9 string. And then the seed oil can, for those of you who are not familiar, you can do this using a squeezer. Rather, you need to do it with a squeezer. You put seeds in here, squeezes them out for seed oil, and then make a can using forestry, which is just basically an upside down bucket with tin. And with that, you are good to go. Let's go ahead and submit. Manual submit. So we're going to get 5 forest hives, 5 meadow hives, and half a heart. Take the bag on the right because I'm not having much luck at all. That's a good one. It's not bad. And a golden Nixon. Alright, so it looks like we're ready to start the bee stuff off next time. I'll work on that in my spare time here. I'll also record some of that. Like I said, the bee stuff will be a separate episode from everything else that we're doing. Thank you guys for watching. If you like it, let me know. If you have any suggestions, definitely let me know as well. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.